Okay, Mr. Haley, we are live on YouTube and you should be ready to go at 6:30.
Okay, thank you. I think it's 6:29 right now, so. $6:29 on my phone and 6:30 on the computer. It's 6:30, so I'm going to go ahead and call this Warren County, Tennessee Financial Management Committee meeting for Thursday, April 16th to order. It is 6:30 and we are doing this via Zoom. And so I would ask for each one of the participants to actually sign in with a voice confirmation of who you are.
Scott Rubley.
So we got Mr. Rubley.
Bobby Cox, Warren County Schools.
We got Director of Schools, Bobby Cox.
Daniel Owens.
We have Commissioner Owens.
Gary Martin, Commissioner.
We have Commissioner Martin.
Highway Superintendent Levy Glenn.
Yeah, Mr. Glenn as well. First item of business, if I think each one of you was received an email of the last financial management minutes. Is there a motion to dispense with the reading of those minutes and to accept? So who is that? Yeah. Everybody's got to be by voice and identify yourself on every action that we do tonight. So we have
Scott Rubley, motion to approve and dispense with the reading.
We have a motion for Commissioner Rubley. Do we have a second?
Second, Bobby Cox.
We have a second from School Director Cox. Has anybody got any further questions about the said minutes or corrections? Then we've got to do a voice count on every one of this. So County Executive Haley says aye.
Bobby Cox, aye.
Daniel Owens said aye.
Scott Rubley, aye.
Gary Martin, aye. Levy Glenn, aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. I do want to ask, is Mr. Cotton on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Barely.
I can just barely hear him as well.
Still can't hear you, Mr. Cotton.
Give me just a second.
We are doing this live via YouTube as well, so still waiting on Mr. Cotton. Was anybody else able to hear Mr. Cotton any better than me? I couldn't hear him.
I was having difficulty as well.
We're making history again tonight. This is the second Zoom meeting. Budget and Finance did the last one, so this is the second one for the county. We'll be also doing this Monday night at our county commission meeting. So I think all that's been emailed out to you, and several of you have consulted with my executive assistant, Lauren Hennessy. So I think we're ready to go on Monday. We'll just need to make sure that everybody is able to log in appropriately and your voice can be heard. Mr. Cotton, are you still there?
Yes, can you hear me now?
No, not much better. I can hear you, but it's very faint. I mean, I can hear you, but I'm not sure if it's audible over YouTube or via Zoom. Let's hear from you, Mr. Cotton. Have you got, can you? No, Mr. Cotton. Lauren, are you still there?
Yes, it looks like Justin is calling in from a phone line right
On the
now.
phone line.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. That's a good
All right.
thing. All right, we have Finance Director Justin Cotton online now. So we can move ahead with our agenda. First item is Budget Amendment GF FY 1920-15. Mr. Cotton, you want to explain that budget amendment?
Yes, this is a budget amendment to appropriate funds for the Tri-County Railroad. We voted on this late in the fiscal year last year, but prior to other counties also voting on it, so we did not appropriate the funds prior to now. But it's time to appropriate these funds so that we can contribute to the railroad.
Okay, do we have a motion? If you will speak your name and make that motion, and then we'll have a second.
Scott Ruble, motion to approve.
We have a motion from Commissioner Ruble. Do we have a second?
Daniel Owens, second.
We have a second from Commissioner Owens. Anybody have any further discussion or questions about said budget amendment GFFY 19/20-15?
I've
we'll
got
take a
one
roll.
question. Levy
Yes.
Glenn speaking.
Yes,
What's this
Mr.
money going for, the railroad?
Yes,
This
sir, the
is-
Tri-County Railroad.
This is
Okay,
our
so it
commitment
had
to
to-
the Tri-County Railroad.
So it had to be done now before a new fiscal year.
Yes, we voted on it several months ago. We were waiting for the other two counties to basically also approve it.
So they have approved it?
Yes.
Okay, that's all.
So we have a motion, second. Any further questions? And we'll take a roll call vote by voice. Jimmy Haley says aye.
Bobby Cox, aye.
Gary Martin,
Daniel
aye.
Owens, aye.
Scott Ruble, aye.
Levy Glenn, aye.
So all the votes are cast. It's unanimous, so it passes. Next item is budget amendment HWY FY 1920-2. Mr. Cotton, would you like to explain this budget amendment?
Yeah, this is a budget amendment to appropriate more money for the highway department. Superintendent Glenn, if can answer any questions if anyone has any as to what each of these lines is for.
We have a voice motion before we begin discussion.
Motion to approve, Scott Ruble.
We have a motion from Commissioner Ruble. Do we have a second?
Second, Gary Martin.
We have a second from Mr. Martin. Are there any questions of Superintendent Glenn.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Levy can
Mr. Rubley.
explain a little bit of that. That would probably help simplify the matter.
And it
We've
might be
already,
for our audience or for our media that's present. So Mr. Glenn, would you like to explain some of these budget amendments that are taking place? I know most of it has to do with the disaster fund.
Yes, we're taking, the money out of our fund balance, out of, the county highway department's fund balance, or uncommitted funding, they might call it. We did, several FEMA projects, and the portal, the book work this year, they changed the procedures, and it took a lot more administrative book work. So, we brought on a new bookkeeper to help, and went really well. Then we went on into our USDA loan, and we're about closed out with FEMA. We're still getting a few questions from them. But anyway, that's mainly what this is for, and some of it's for stationery and construction of materials. We had to order some signs and stuff for these projects as far as road closed and to meet the traffic control device book. And it's all in-house, and it all come out of my fund balance, and my fund balance is left fine by this. Any other questions?
We have a motion and a second. If everybody will do a voice count. Jimmy Haley says aye.
Bobby Cox, yes.
Gary Martin, yes.
Daniel Owens, yes.
Scott Ruble, yes.
Levy Glenn, yes.
We have a unanimous vote, so motion carries. Next item is set the county TCRS contribution rate. Mr. Cotton, if you'd like to explain that before we take a vote.
Yes. The Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System actuarial valuation for the county came in. The minimum that the county can contribute is 8.61%. However, the TCRS recommends that we contribute more than that in order to offset later shortfalls. Last year, the recommended rate was around 9.6%, and the county elected to contribute 11%.
So I think each one of you received an email from Director Cotton explaining some of this. So do we have a motion to approve by voice?
Justin, do you recommend staying with the 11%? I think we've done that for the last several years.
Yes, we have, and that would definitely offset any future inflation that we might see.
I'll make that motion to keep it at the recommended rate of what we did last year.
So a motion from Mr. Cox. Is there a second?
Levy Glenn, second.
So we have a second from Superintendent Glenn. Is there any further questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have a comment.
All right,
Last
Mr.
year,
Rubley?
yes, sir. Last year, we were about 1.4% above the recommended minimum. This year, 1.4% above that would be about 10%. And that would be my recommendation, but I know there's already a motion, so I'll vote no because of that. But that's all I had to say.
So Mr. Rubley votes. Are you saying that's a no?
Yes.
All right. So Commissioner Rubley says no. Jimmy Haley says aye.
Bobby Cox, aye.
Gary
Daniel
Martin,
Owens,
aye.
aye.
Gary Martin says aye.
Levy Glenn, aye.
Mr. Owens?
Aye. Excuse me.
So we have ayes, but Mr. Rubley, votes no. So motion carries. Next item is any additional budget amendments and transfers, if any. So Mr. Cotton,
I do not have any additional at this time.
so we have none. Any surplus property approval or disposal?
None at this time.
We have none for that either. Is there any other business to come before financial management for this April 16, 2020 Zoom meeting? We have a
Bobby Cox.
voice motion then to adjourn.
Bobby Cox, move to adjourn.
We have a motion from Mr. Cox. Do we have a second?
Gary Martin,
Dan
second.
Miller, second.
We have a second from Commissioner Martin. I want to thank each and every one of you for participating. We are making history. We don't know how much longer this is going to take through this shutdown process. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. So any opposed? So motion carries. We stand adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen, for participating tonight. If you got any further questions in my office, anything about the Monday night full commission meeting, please let me know. And thank you for your service to Warren County during these challenging times. So together we can do this. We are Warren strong.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.